Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big victory Monday. So pumped to be here with you guys as we are looking forward now to an SEC championship game in Atlanta where Texas will be uh, hosting the Georgia Bulldogs, even though I'm sure it won't quite feel like that based on how the crowd distribution is. Cody, ton to get to today. We have a potential 5-star flip occurring not from Texas, but to Texas, an incoming 5-star flip. This kid is sick. We're going to talk about him. Texas with some decommitments, one on the books, one that is yet to kind of hit the wires. So we probably don't need to talk about that one too much, because if we do, I'll end up messing up and saying the kid's name, and we're not supposed to do it just yet. Coaching carousel, I want to ask you about some of these jobs. We also have are we worried about Josiah Sharma? Kind of wanted to ask you about that, whether or not you're worried about him. I finished up the deep dig, and I have all the defensive grades, some historical perspective to put to you guys as far as how good this defense for Texas has been this year. And we also have Monday Night Football a little bit later, and I got to get back on the horse with some prize picks after a little bit of a rough week this last weekend in the NFL. So we're gonna get on the horse tonight, gonna get it all done. Cody, I don't even know where to start, man. Do you want to start out with Nate Marshall?
Let's start out with Nate Marshall.
Okay, so Nate Marshall, if you guys don't know him, he was at the Texas game on the 23rd. So that was the game before A&M. So was that Kentucky?
Kentucky.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, man, it all really starts to meld together, doesn't it? We just got word today from Greg Smith that I believe Greg Smith is the guy that does the like the Midlands or like the kind of the Middle America rankings on these players. Nate Marshall is a 6'5", 275-pound defensive end / tight end, 5-star on Rivals from Oak Park, Illinois, that was originally committed to Michigan, decommits from Michigan, verbally commits right before school started for the fall to Auburn. And the word from Greg Smith is he was told this morning that he loved to visit Austin. And right now it's a, quote, strong possibility that he'll flip to Texas. Conversations are ongoing, and nothing is a done deal with 5 stars this close to the wire, as you all know. But things do look promising. We'll bring more when I have it. So that's the report that Greg sent to us today. And when you look at this dude, Nate Marshall, his huddle is a freak show. It starts out with a bunch of tight end stuff, and you can just tell, man, if he really weighs 275 pounds, how well he carries that weight, how fast he is.
I was going to say, I don't think he's 275 pounds.
Well, but what if he is?
If he is, he's got to have some just dense bones. He's got to have some meaty legs.
What do the other sites have him listed as? Let me look at like 24/7 and On 3 and stuff. So Nate Marshall, because sometimes there's a big difference in how they like. Sometimes, let's see.
He moves very well if he's 275 pounds.
247 has him at 265.
Okay.
So
it's more, if you told me he was 245, 250, I'd believe you.
He doesn't play like that though either. You know what I mean? He plays like a. I'm telling you, I'm just telling you that does not look like a Darnell Washington tight end out there.
Correct. That's the first thing that came to mind when I watched him cross over there and catch a touchdown. As I'm watching it right now, but as soon as I watched him cross, I was like, Darnell Washington's a little bit taller, but that's
slower. Doesn't move like that guy.
Darnell Washington's got flat feet. Like,
yeah, and I think just as far as the edge stuff, I'd be interested to think what you think, Cody. But so there's some technical things he's going to need to work on. But dude, this is very exciting. This is if it looks very promising that he's going to flip, and poor Hugh Freeze, by the way. Cody, you talked about how he was stacking up all these 5 stars in this great class over the course of this thing. It looks like he's gonna, but this guy, it's like he'd be one of the ones that you looked at and you said, dude, that would be a guy that any roster in the SEC would love to have. Long, big arms, athletic, can move. think he's a 5 technique, at least to start. He's going to be a 5 technique. But he's one of these guys like I I don't think he's a different kind of guy than in than Mbauchu from where he is right now. And of course, Texas loses Joe Mbauchu over the weekend, right? And this would not be a 1-for-1 replacement because I think that with Nate Marshall, he profiles a little bit more. He's a different kind of player than Lance Jackson, but I do think that he's sort of one of these players with Lance Jackson. I think we're going to take kind of the scenic route to where he ends up being at his best, right? Not to say he's coming in as a developmental player because I don't necessarily think he is developmental. Although I do think that he so he's saying Johnny Lade, who's the last minute 5-star flip. Nate Marshall flipping from Auburn, possibly strong possibility. He's from Illinois. Um, the uh, the the thing about him is there is some stuff you can just tell that he hadn't been focused completely on his technique as a defensive lineman. I think he loves playing tight end probably, and that's how JT Sanders was coming out. Of course, he stayed at tight end, but he was a hellified edge, guy in high school, right? I think that this dude, just with his length, he's got that same sort of length as an Mbachu, but he just doesn't come in with the same. He doesn't appear to be the same size to me, although their listed weights aren't that far off. Little bit of a pad level issue, but it's like hand fighting stuff. But dude, it doesn't matter. Once you get the technique honed in with this guy, he's a big, athletic, just freakazoid, man. Like he's awesome. He's a 5-star for a reason. And this is just the kind of player that you add into this program. Let him come in, let him develop, and get him. It is. I mean, it isn't like when you look at what Texas is going to have as far as the true. These true kind of guys that are going to be kind of starting out as a strong side defensive end type, it's like we haven't discussed about Trey Moore, whether you think he might come back. I don't think he wants to really come back, right? Baron
I don't think he
Sorrell's
wants
gone.
to, and Sark seems to be continuing to talk about him in this light that he thinks he's had a great season. So I think Trey Moore is going to be an interesting one to kind of hear what the scouts say.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Do you think he'll come back?
I think he should come back because this defense, I think he can continue in a similar snap package. We talked about this before, but I think he can continue in a similar snap package with Simmons, and they can both play fresh, and they can just both be marauders, and potentially end up with a higher sack total next year and actually show the numbers, which innately is going to help you rise up the draft board a little bit more. Whereas like today, I would tell you where I see Trey Moore's kind of in that, late third, kind of early fourth project, like kind of a developmental / like I know what he is, upside type of a guy. But I don't think he's happy with that because I think he was in the same area last year.
Well, okay, all right, but I mean, it doesn't matter. He doesn't play at that spot anyway, unless we're talking about the dime package. On the dime package, he'll play the strong side defensive end, but that's just because they get Simmons in on the other side. That's the NASCAR package, right? In base, he plays over at the buck end anyway. So of your guys that play jack end, you have Justice Finkley, who I'm not sure he's even back at Texas next year. He hasn't played in 8 games. You have Ethan Burke. Colton Vosick has played at both the jack and the buck.
I think the one side is Vosick and Burke, and the other side is Simmons and Moore.
If Moore comes back.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is the kind of guy that could come in next year. I'm not saying he could be he doesn't have the traits of a Colin Simmons. So I don't think he could come in I don't think he could come in and make the same kind of splash, but I do think after like one season at Texas, if he gets up to 285 pounds or something like this, heck, even if he just is 270 or he gets up to 270, look how his body would be.
Do you think Mbachu is his listed 280, 285?
I think he's probably pretty close. And
Mbachu's 280, 285. This guy's not 275.
What do you think he is? 265?
I'd give you $10 if he's got on a scale today and he's 260.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll take your deal. Might as well, right? You see, I think David Keith Williams has it all wrong here because he's saying Lance Jackson's a future 285-pound defender that best fits strong side defensive end. Nate Marshall's a potential. No. Like Lance Jackson's the type of future 300-pounder that can best fit at a three tack. And I do think just based on what I've seen of Nate Marshall so far, I think that Nate Marshall could be the type of 285 potential best fit at strong side defensive end. And so another satisfied customer here, Joe Quesada saying this is clickbait.
Joe, please enlighten us on how this is clickbait. Please,
Yeah,
I just want to hear it one time.
Like the show, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys being here, but it isn't clickbait. We're talking about a potential 5-star flip. I mean, what's so wrong with that? It's fun, man. Football with friends is fun as hell. But Joe Quesada doesn't want to talk about it anymore. So, Cody, any final thoughts about Nate Marshall while we have these domestic terrorists coming in and giving us demands about what we need to be doing our show regarding? My God.
I think my closing thought on Nathaniel Marshall, the number 2 overall weak side defensive end in the class, the number 26 overall player in the class, a 5-star potential flip, which is on the thumbnail. For those of you that have tapped in so far, you'd know that. Currently committed to Auburn, who's also a top 5 class. Auburn technically still has a class currently projected to be better than Texas is at this point. I think my biggest takeaway here, Alex, is that they've been in on Justice Terry. They've been in on Javion Hilson. They've been in on Nathaniel Marshall now. They've been in on all of these top-end, top-ranked players.
Oh, Will Soups, yeah.
I'm talking about more at edge.
Okay,
right. At D tackle. Lance Jackson, currently the 3rd-ranked strong side defensive end. They at one point were in on Jakeem Stewart, who's now the number one strong side defensive end. He was in the 26 class. Now he's in the 2025 class. They've been in on and talked to all of these dudes, and they've been attempting to get them on campus. They have gotten a lot of them on campus. They're trying to get these top-end guys. I think there's not going to be a lack of trying, and I think it's interesting / cool to see. I think the growth of Alfred Collins, the growth of Vernon Broughton in this past year, Kenny Baker, who caught so much heat this summer, right? Because he came in late, and the end of that last class didn't look fantastic, and it was just like a big question mark. Is defensive tackle going to ruin this team? Is that going to be the problem? And now he's starting to recruit and be able to get these big names in to campus. And if he can close hard, I know they lost Mbachu or, came in, left, whatever, all this stuff. I'll be very interested to see what the next couple of days looks like with all of these defensive linemen, whether it's Marshall, whether it's Hilson, whether it's Terry, who commits to Texas, who doesn't, why, what they say, and what kind of Kenny Baker's role is in this whole thing.
Would you take Nate? Would you take Nate Marshall, the bird in hand, or a 75% chance at Justice Terry?
If you're giving me a 75% chance of Justice Terry, I'll take the 75% chance of Justice Terry because Justice Terry, I think, is better, and you're taking that away from Georgia, whereas you're taking away Nathaniel Marshall from Auburn. He's got a sick class, but it's Auburn. So, I mean, you might. I like Hugh Freeze.
I think I'd take the bird in hand. I think I'd take the bird in hand for sure. Look at this. We got Joe Quesada. He's saying, hey, Joe, I'm not telling you guys to tell us. Y'all use titles to get more views. Well, our job is we're football evaluators and writers and media types, but basically what we get paid to do is it's called being content creators. And part of being a content creator is presenting your content in a way that people want to click on it and or consume it. It's the same reason why you got to write a snappy headline for an article or you got to do the rest of it. But we're glad that you definitely clicked on it. So thank you for clicking on it. But
he said, just keeping it real. Well, just keeping it real. We're trying to make money. We're not trying to be poor. So.
Yeah. Speaking of making money, we are all out of beef jerky over at Texas Beef Traders for now. I hope we got all the orders filled. Darren's been taking care of that, but we do know that going to Texas Beef Traders is a super smart thing to do if you're in the Austin area. Just go in there, go see Darren, go see Shay. They'll cook you up a burger while you're there. They'll make you a sausage wrap, cook you up some steak. Um, Try out the product. It's delicious. This beef, it's got no vaccines, no antibiotics, no hormones, no steroids, none of this junk. Just pure grass-fed, delicious beef from right out there in Mason, Texas. They have the Piedmontese herd in Lukenbach, and they have the Wagyu herd in Gatesville. And all these are from sustainable, awesome farms. You can buy it by the box. You can buy it by the cut. You can just go in there and buy a pound of ground beef. I think it's $4. You get 10% off by telling them that you heard about it on Football with Friends. You get out there with $3.60 for like steakhouse quality, awesome ground. $3.60. We're in this economy from local farmers, local ranchers. Texas Beef Traders is where you need to go. It's right off of Loman's Crossing, right there in the heart of Lakeway. Delicious beef. It's an old school meat shop like they just don't make anymore. They just don't have old school meat shops like Texas Beef Traders anymore. It's a place where everybody knows your name. Giant Longhorns fans, except for Shay, who's an SMU fan. But yeah,
playoff.
If you want to talk ball with Shay, don't go in after an SMU loss. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. Tell them we sent you. All right. We have a bunch of other stuff to get to, but with the Nate Marshall thing, we needed to start with it. Obviously, it was the thumbnail, and Joe Quiscava would have gotten much angrier if we'd made that the thumbnail. It didn't talk about it first. Looks like we have a super chat here. So we'll go to it. Oh, dude, 1999. Thank you, man. Benjamin Blackwell. Off topic here. If Texas loses to Georgia in a close loss, wouldn't it be better for Texas to be the 5th seed? They could cakewalk to the semis, in my opinion. What's your thoughts? Well, I mean, dude, Cody, I'm on record about the whole 5 seed thing. I think that 5 seed is a cheat code, right? With that being said, it's like I wrote today. Whenever Sark said it's really not that big a difference with the bye because, you get basically 2.5 weeks off anyway to get healthy and all that stuff. And I was like, so it's like you get a long time anyway. Of course, we would like to have the extra week or whatever. And I'm like, man, it's weird that Sark is talking about this thing like it's about the extra week. You know what I mean? I'm just like, no. This is about skipping the line to round 2 of the playoffs. You know what I mean? So I would say any type of spot where you could do that is what you want to do. And I understand that who you face could be a little bit tougher, but I mean, I certainly agree, Benjamin, that the 5th seed would be just the absolute nut spot as far as if you're having to play one of these first round games, because the thing is you're going to get to play the bad Big 12 team most likely, or I think, is it guaranteed that the 5 seed gets to play the Big 12 at this point?
I mean, it's not guaranteed. It depends.
It'll be guaranteed.
They're expected to bolster up Arizona State this week. The AP bolstered them up, so it depends kind of how far they bolster up Arizona State, and then if Arizona State wins against Iowa State, how much further they jump up with the conference championship win.
Okay, but the Big 12 stinks. Like they're going to be the 12 seed, right?
Yes, I think so. Imagine if it's Iowa State that wins it, and Iowa State gets to 12, and they have to go to Austin hypothetically, and it's like that.
And then Texas would possibly play Boise next,
and then Boise, Iowa State, Boise State.
I mean, so Benjamin's right.
The easiest schedule.
Yeah, but Oscar, what Oscar Elizondo is saying, it's true. He's like, but there's, and this is true. It's another reason why you don't want him to play any, any wacky business with this thing. You don't want to overthink it. You want to go win the game. You want to be SEC champs, and you want to go on and you know what I mean.
Yep.
Just don't mess around with it because there's no guarantee at the 5 seed, and you like this. The 6 seed does not look as pretty at all.
No, I mean, I popped it up just a second ago. I'll pop it back up, but you can see it's pretty straightforward. Like that bottom right corner.
And that was before this last week of games.
That was before, and tomorrow night we'll be live. The updated will release tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. We'll be live just like we have been the last month, pretty much on Tuesday nights for the release show. We'll talk about it. We'll have graphics tomorrow night, same time as usual. But even like the 6 seed, it's not great, but you're likely, I mean, now with the Miami loss, I think this whole thing's going to look a little bit different.
Well, yes, it's going to look different than that.
No, I know, but like Boise could potentially be the 3. I don't know. Like
yeah. Okay. Well, if
Boise jumps SMU, like, you know what I'm saying? Like SMU should be the top ranked ACC team right now. So Boise could be 3, SMU could be 4. We'll see. It's gonna be big tomorrow night. What they do with Boise and SMU, how far they drop Miami, etc. But even that spot over there isn't terrible. I think 5 or 6 isn't terrible.
Right. But I think that Texas even with a loss wouldn't fall past 7, right?
I don't think so. I don't think you can drop them past 7.
So they're gonna if they lose, they're getting 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And I don't think either of those looks terrible. I mean, it would depend on, I guess one way is if can you put it back up again?
Yes.
I think one way it might be bad. One way it could be bad is if you were 5 and then Alabama sneaks in as the 12. Wouldn't necessarily love to host Alabama for the first thing to kick this whole deal off.
Speaking of Alabama, their odds at FanDuel took a shift today. And
I thought you were going to do a swear jar there. Took a shift today. What kind of shift did they take?
No, took a shift today. They went from plus 100 to minus 186 today to make the CFP. So from plus money to minus 186. And then per FanDuel Sportsbook, the over-under on the number of SEC teams to make the college football playoff over 3.5 is now minus 400.
Dude, I was trying to fire a bet off with my buddy Wes earlier, saying he's like, there's no way there's gonna be 4 SEC teams. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? They're gonna sneak one of these guys into the 12.
Well, it's gonna be Bama or South Carolina. It just is.
Well, what about Lane Kiffin's argument?
Ole Miss is like. If you think there's any argument to it, go make a bet, because I think the Ole Miss.
Because
it's crazy right now.
But even though the South Carolina lost to both of them, and their best win is against Clemson.
Here's the thing, man. This thing is so cockamamie with what they've said. They want the best teams, not the most deserving. They said that last year. Remember that, right? The most deserving was Florida State. The best was Alabama. They said that. They opened the door. They opened Pandora's box, and they said that. And that innately opens the door for South Carolina. The hottest team in football that nobody wants to play is South Carolina. Are they the most deserving? Probably not, because they lost to both Ole Miss and Alabama. Right? The Alabama and the LSU losses are a combined 5 points. They lost by 2 in Tuscaloosa, which they were like 8 or 10-point dogs in.
But it's still
LSU to being up 17-0 with a quarterback got hurt. They got screwed on a penalty late in the game on a pick 6. Ole Miss is the one hiccup on the whole schedule, but since that game, the teams have looked pretty much entirely different.
I think that, like, you always act like I'm a South Carolina hater whenever, like, we looked at our rankings, and I usually had them ranked higher than you did. Like, I think South Carolina is awesome. I've been saying that I love Lenore Sellers for half the season now.
Hey, last Friday I tried to cut it up. I couldn't quite cut it up right, so I didn't post it. But Catch said this morning that the best quarterback in the SEC this year, Lenora Sellers, said that on Friday.
That's what we were talking about.
I mean,
I'm
that's what
going to
you asked
vote.
the question. That was the answer. And then
Well,
he proved it this weekend with the win against Clemson. But the Ole Miss odds I was bringing up a minute ago, do you have any thoughts? If you were to set the line, Ole Miss to make the playoffs or to not make the playoffs, the yes, no. What do you think Ole Miss's number is at right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, now since you're asking it like that, it's probably horrible. I don't know. Are they yes plus 700?
Yes is plus 4,000. No is minus 100,000.
You have to put $100,000 to make. No, it can't be minus 100,000. Minus
100,000 means you put 100 down to make 10 cents.
You put 100,000 down to make $100. No, it's so wait. I think that you're misreading that. It can't be minus 100,000.
I will share the screen. I'm dead serious.
Can you like make the view bigger?
Yeah. Oop, too far.
You wager $100,000 to win 100. Are you kidding me? Okay, well they're not making it.
Isn't that wild?
Well, that's just a St. Jude. That's an old St. Jude bet, right? Just give it to the kids at St. Jude's. All they're doing is taking your money from you. They would never put up those odds if there was any chance. Okay. Well, so
South Carolina plus 500 to make it, minus 850 to not.
Hey, how about the old fat man Mike Elko after that game versus Texas? The old fat man. What did you think about him? He was up there blubbering and stumbling and mumbling and fumbling. He didn't realize what just happened to him.
I think he's a good coach. But I think Duke was like the perfect place for him. I don't think A&M. I think A&M's a little bit too big for him, you know? Like I think he's probably a good recruiter, good dude, great coach. But I'm not quite sure that who do I want to comp him to? Like a Bielema? Or like a Brett Bielema? Where like those middle of the line jobs are like great. You can dominate those middle of the line jobs. You dominate Wisconsin. You know, I mean, Wisconsin, I guess, is a little bit higher tier than the middle of the line, but that's Elko for you.
Sorry, Jay Lee. I didn't see your super chat, brother. Thank you for the reminder because we wouldn't have gotten to it. But generally, man, we see them when they pop right up. There's just a lot of people. There's creeping up to close to 1,200 people in here right now. So thanks to everybody for being here. Super chat for $5. I've been against anything beyond 8 teams because I don't believe there are 12 teams that are natty caliber. Doesn't this year prove that? / my point. What's I mean, look, I think that no, because I want Alabama and Ole Miss in this deal, right? I think that dude. It's like any given Saturday with these SEC teams. It looks like there's gonna be 4 now. I don't think it would hurt for there to be 5. I would love it if South Carolina could be in this thing, right? I like that's a team that like they got hot at the right time. JD's talking about Bama could sneak in. Bama's gonna get in. They're favored to get in now. There was a giant odd shift today from what'd you say, Cody? Plus 200 to minus 185.
Plus minus 100 to minus 186. It's now. I just clicked on it a second ago. It's now minus 200.
Yeah. So we have like we're gonna have 3. There's gonna be a 4th. I think that there should be 5. So no, I mean, I don't, because if there was 8, all of a sudden now, look, if there's 8, that gets it real weird and woolly, because then you start saying like, okay, well, what about Texas and Ohio State and stuff? Are they both definitely in? And then at that point, you're just like, well, that that isn't fair to start thinking about those kinds of things, right? Let me just hold on. And then because if it were 8, Jay Lee, it couldn't be the stuff where you get to have a group of 5 team in there and you have to have a Big 12 team in there and you have to have all of that. Because let's say you had to do the group of 5 and the Big 12 and well, I guess the ACC will take care of
You
itself.
you would have your 4, and then you'd have your group of 5, and then you'd have 3 at larges.
Oh, no, dude. Are you
You'd
kidding
have
me?
to. You'd have to.
Yeah, but well, no.
That's what
No,
they. Not saying you have to, but they would have to. They wouldn't.
that would be terrible.
Oh, of
It
course
was
it would
the
be.
worst idea I've ever heard. I'm sorry, but
Of course
like
it would
you
be.
can't do that. That would
I'm
be
not saying
awful.
they should. I'm just saying that I think they would. They would be. I don't think you'd get sign off from everybody.
Yeah, so you couldn't do that.
It's probably why they went right to 12.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though this 12 base is stupid anyway. It should be the 4 best teams to 4 best seeds. You should be able to clinch a spot in the playoff with a championship, sure, but not a top 4 seed.
I think they should go to 16 and add another week onto this, where everybody in the main field gets a bye, and then you have you have 2 games that weekend, where the 2 teams play, and then the winner of those 2 gets to play the extra game. Would that work?
Dude, why do the buys don't even matter? Like Sark talked about it today. He's like, we get 2 weeks off anyway. So if you get a buy, you get a third week off. Like,
Oh yeah, I
do
guess
you really want a third week off?
that's true. You see, it starts to get to where it's like it feels like a whole new season.
Yeah, and then the other team gets to play a week, and then you're just all of a sudden, yeah, you got an extra week of a rest, and sure, you might get a player back potentially. You know, you might get a little more healthy, but then you haven't played a game in a month.
Yeah, dude. Was it just? But just getting back to the Aggies. Like I did the whole deep dig today, just so I've been thinking about it. I haven't done the let's see. So it looks like this is another super chat from Ben Webb. Thank you again, man. 4.99 super chat. Can we just spend a couple minutes talking about how much of a bad dude Kyle Flood is? Susie needs to make a business decision. We're radicalized. Yeah, man. Ben Webb, you and I have both been radicalized by this, but just by this absolute demon of a developer. It's just I haven't done Gooseby yet. I'll be excited to do him, but the fact of the matter is, watching him, just watching the game on a Saturday night, not I always watch it critically and stuff, but I'll put him under the microscope during the deep dig and everything, like I've done for the defense last night and the rest of the day. I just got that column up talking about some historical context for this team, and maybe we'll get to it during the show, or we certainly will during the week. But the job that he has done and the fruit that we're even starting to see bear a little bit with Gooseby, I think. Again, I haven't done it, but Gooseby came in here kind of not, I don't want to say scrawny or something like that, but man, he was certainly he was a developmental tackle, but you could tell always the big size 16 shoes, always the big hands, what I'm saying? Super tall, great looking guy, great on his feet and everything. And he just saw it in him, It's a 3-star guy. He saw it in him. And now he's turned out to be a really big dude. He's got in the weight room. He's done a really good job. I mean, shout out Torrey Becton for sure. But I mean, Jake Majors has gotten so good, right? Hayden Connor's gotten so good. Cam Williams is unbelievable. Kelvin Banks is unbelievable.
Christian Jones.
Yeah, man. These guys, we've seen the way that now, once he's had 3 years here to develop these guys, and we're really starting to see the fruits of it. My biggest, do you know how I'll be totally radicalized and completely off the reservation? I'll go sign up to fight in his fighting force to go to go develop offensive linemen all over the third world countries and stuff. Is if he does anything with any of those 2023 guys like Connor Stroh or I guess Peyton Kirkland's gone, or Kojo, dudes who I just said no shot. My eval on this guy is terrible, but I don't care because I trust Flood, right? If he could do something with those guys, then that's when I'm yeah, I'm just going to sign up for his army. You know what I mean? I'm going to quit my job and just go just go be a freedom fighter with Kyle Flood. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for the super chat, Ben Webb. I can't wait to talk about Gooseby once I do that film work. Did we get to this one from Oscar Elizondo?
Nope,
If Texas
that's me.
loses, we fire CDC and hire Chris as AD. Oh, this dude Chris in the chat. So I guess this guy Chris is giving him trouble in the chat. I agree with him. We need to break this thing open and start over. Mac Brown. Mac Brown is on the market. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Okay, so we have. He mentions Mac Brown being on the market. I had a question for you, Cody, about just the coaching carousel in general and what you think about it. With West Virginia opening up, they fire Neil Brown, and then now Gus. Why did they hire Gus Malzahn to be their offensive coordinator?
Why do you think? Who has some of the best ties with recruits in this class right now, and who's failed with recruits? I think that UCF, if you remember right, the game against Colorado, they had over 100 kids there, and at that point, I think UCF was like 4-1. They were rolling with KJ Jefferson, RJ Harvey, and stuff, and then I think they lost like 6 in a row or something, maybe worse than that, maybe 8 in a row. I don't remember to finish the season. But Gus is a program builder. Gus is a recruiter, and I think it was a smart move because Florida State's lost a ton of recruits. This has to help, at least in the short term, like the last week and this week as they go towards early signing day. First guy I thought of was Javion Hilson because Javion Hilson was thinking about UCF, right? Javion Hilson, obviously a Florida State guy. Like, is that enough? Is a Malzahn going to Florida State enough to sway a guy like Hilson? Is it enough to sway a couple different? If a move like that's big enough to do that, I think it's. I thought of recruiting first and foremost. Gus Malzahn also maybe waving the white flag at this UCF job just a little bit too big for me, which I didn't think.
Too big.
Yeah, I'm like,
which brings me by okay. So which
let me rephrase the too big thing. Not like too big, like the job is too big, like the title, but like the job is too big, like competing with Florida State in Miami, and USF now is inserting its name into as long as Golich stays there, but having Norvell, having Napier, and having Cristobal, like and you're just dead center in Orlando trying to compete against all three of those guys. Maybe smarter just to wave the white flag and jump on to one of those staffs if you can. And
that's fair enough.
Not something I expected, but not something that I blame him for.
All right. So speaking of Napier, somebody in the chat said something about ESPN reporting something about French. I don't think it's true. So because I just checked on X and looked, it's like certainly keeping our eye on that stuff. But
ESPN reporting?
No, it's not true. I've just searched Jamie French on X. There's nothing new about him.
His teammate in Jacksonville, Hilton Stubbs, flipped today from Miami to Florida. That was something that people were looking at in the Jamie French conversation. I will say that.
Yeah, there've been. I mean, look, man. There's been some little bits of smoke with that, which brings up I do want to ask you about the Micah Hudson stuff. Somebody's asking about it in the chat, but before we get off UCF, what has anybody is as far as a Big 12 job? Isn't that a better job than Colorado?
What, UCF?
Yes.
If you're Dion,
yes.
If you're Dion, maybe
he tries to recruit Florida anyway, and he has camps down there.
He don't try. He does it. But
how much easier would it be to get those kids to Orlando?
I think you're right. I think you're right in theory.
Now the question would be: would he take? Is he looking for something bigger for his next step? Is he too much of a job hopper going from there to UCF and then trying to go to some kind of Miami or something?
So I think if he went to UCF, I think that'd be like his
destination,
his thing. I think if he does one more move, I think that'll be his thing. Like he'd be done.
Well, what do you think of my idea?
I don't think it's terrible, but like I said, I think Gus is a great coach. Gus is a great program builder, I think, and maybe good is the word I should be using, not great. But the UCF job I thought was perfect for Malzahn, and for him to, in my opinion, kind of wave the white flag. Like, he got the recruits to go down there. They got the bounce house thing. They got KJ Jefferson to transfer there, down from the SEC, right? They got players, and they started out hot and petered out. I think they're in a tough spot recruiting. It's really tough to compete against a 10-win Miami team, a formerly 13-win Florida State team, and a soon-to-be 10-win team in Florida. Like, that's a really tough place to be sitting. I'm not sure anybody wants to go and take that UCF job. I think that what I call him, it's not Grinch, it's Golich at USF. He'll probably be one of the guys that's next to dip out of Florida at USF. There's just oddly enough in Tampa, like, I would think there'd be more resources. There doesn't seem to be enough resources at USF to where they're really going to be competing at a certain level. But when all three of those schools are clicking, good luck. I mean, good luck recruiting Florida.
Even if you're Deion?
But I mean,
you can run your prime academy camps and stuff, set them up all over the state. I mean, I don't know, man. I think he could just rake in recruits down there.
I think if you're Deion, you stay in the cut, you stay at Colorado, you see what happens with Norvell next year. You see what happens with the Cowboys. You see what happens with Bama. You just stay in the cut for one of these Goliaths. That's it. I get it. I think it's a big job, though. UCF is a big task.
But wouldn't it be the time with Shedeur leaving and everything like that? And it's like, what if he has a couple reels up a couple 6-win seasons at CU and sees his star fall out of the sky?
Well, I'm assuming he's going to play Julian Lewis next year, which is a true freshman. So, not exactly.
Is he as good as Shedeur? I mean,
no.
I guess he's probably not as good as Shedeur, but
no, not today. He's not. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but he's a mixture of he's a little bit of a mixture of Caleb and Kyler.
What do you think? What do you think about West Virginia as an opening?
As a job?
Yeah.
Don't really know what to think of it.
Do you think it's like just completely mid, or do you think it's a little bit bad or a little bit good? Or
no, I think it's the thing is, I thought Neil Brown was gonna be fine. I think it's a good job. I'll be interested to see who gets it. I'd be interested to see if Pat McAfee kind of tries to be like the Portnoy of that whole situation. He obviously speaks openly about West Virginia heavily. I wonder what the money is like there. I don't know. I'm interested. I mean, obviously, I think Carolina is a better job than that. Did you hear what Max said about the money at North Carolina?
No.
So he said, obviously, I want to leave it better than I found it. He believes he's leaving North Carolina better than what he found it. Like, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
He's saying the next group is going to have more money than we had when we got here. I'm kind of okay walking away because of where college football is going. He brought up the number of we started out, we had 4 million. These guys going forward, they're going to have like 12 million. And he didn't really get into it, but he just said we had 4 million, now we have 12 million, and we're going towards revenue sharing. And I'm wondering if is that potentially, I always listen for these like little tidbits of like,
yeah,
is that potentially him saying like North Carolina's budget is 12 million per year for players? Do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because it feels like
not that far off of Ohio State saying, if Ohio State's paying 20, what'd they say? The number was 21 million this year.
It's a $20 million roster is what the
right. If North Carolina's got 12 per year.
Some people at Texas in 2024 only went to like 11 or something, didn't they?
That's what I thought. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I thought that was interesting. He said that. I was like, wow. Like, I wish we had transparency across the board, man.
Oh yeah. The old overthecap.com for callers. We're not going to get it. Not as long as it's the Wild West. And I kind of like it that it still is. sort of the Wild
Yeah,
West
but
with all
I'd
that
like to
stuff.
know that West Virginia's got $12 to spend. North Carolina's got 12 million. Florida State's got 8 million, but they all their fans think they got 20. I'd love to know these things.
Cody, there are so many fans. Speaking of millions and millions of fans, crowd raising, crowdfunding, and stuff like that. A lot of that money for Ohio State was crowdfunded.
Yeah.
Um, I think Ryan Day's buyout's like $30 million. Do you think it's true with so many people saying to fire this guy? Does it really matter that much to keep losing to Michigan?
The problem, well, here's the thing. So everyone's talking about Underwood, the recruit now, the number one quarterback next year going to Michigan. I like the Ohio State quarterback. I like Tavian St. Clair more. I think St. Clair's got a lot of CJ Stroud traits in him. I mean,
You get to see him live.
yeah. Yeah. This was back when Julian Lewis was the number one ranked quarterback. Keelan Russell was like still like us to the top 10. Tavian was like number 4. I thought Tavian was better than all of them. And I
What
like Keelan.
I haven't watched 1 minute of his film. What's the synopsis of him?
He's an NFL pocket passer. He's a pocket quarterback with with average athleticism.
How big and tall and fast?
6'2.5", 6'3", got a big butt on him, probably 220, 225. Good build. Keelan Russell's just so lean. Keelan may have, I'm not sure what Keelan's wheels are going to look like, but Keelan's going to be 6'1.5", maybe 6'2". Like he looked like he's about 190, 195. Julian Lewis, the Colorado kid now, with it, his hair gives him about an extra 5 inches, but he's about maybe 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, 190. Like this kid though, I mean, Tavian St. Clair at Ohio State, I think, like I said, a lot of the same traits you see in Cardale and in CJ Stroud, so it makes sense. And then Achilles Smith Jr. up at Oregon, he's in this class too. That boy is big.
But you think St. Clair is better than all of them?
Yeah, I think St. Clair is the number one quarterback in the class.
Okay, so
and that's what I'm saying. I think it's interesting. I don't know if you can just say fire Ryan Day, be done with it, or if you say, well, we got this kid coming in, and we got kids on the staff right now, or in the roster right now, and Julian Sayin and the kid from South Dakota State from 2 years ago, or South Dakota 2 years ago, and I don't know what that looks like. That's a big thing, because if you all of a sudden just can Ryan Day, do you lose the number one quarterback in the class? And then it's like,
what is Ryan Day? Ryan Day must have an incredible record there. I mean, it's like, what are they?
Yeah.
What are they just gonna make Hartline the coach or something? Like, what do you? And then wouldn't Ryan Day just go down and take the UNC job or something? Like they would insta offer, wouldn't they? Be like, why are you getting fired? It's like because I've had this. I don't know. I for some reason I lose to Michigan every year, but it's like, but I win all the other games. It's like, and I can recruit.
66-10, 4 straight seasons, 11-2, 11-2, 11-2. This year, 10-2.
It's not bad. I mean, it's crazy, dude. Right? It's wild. Oscar Elizondo, our guy, has got a super chat. Thank you, Oscar. Aggies are telling me 8-4 is a great start for Elmo. Didn't they go 7-5 last year? And don't they have the easiest schedule since they joined the SEC? I haven't kept track of all of the Aggies schedules since they joined the SEC, but I mean, at least they had, at least their out of conference stuff. They had Notre Dame, right? Yeah, they had Notre Dame. I guess they played Missouri. They had to play LSU. They had to play. Did they play South Carolina?
Yep, they got boat
South Carolina. Then they had to. So I don't see that as a super. I mean, it was harder than Texas' schedule in the SEC. That's for sure. But Texas went ahead and made the old fat man look like somebody just shot his dog. I mean, you can't believe that guy was just. I mean, he really, dude. He looked like he just got one of those days where you just get you got to sit like you got to sit down, old man. I got some real bad news for you. It's just I couldn't believe, dude, that defense. that defense is my article was said like these are true kings. If you compare them just his historically versus the rest, and I know that chart probably doesn't give the best because that's just a week by week. Yeah, just look at this. Like that's the top top 10 or something, top 10, 11, 13 guys in the deep dig. It goes 184 players deep, and Texas has that many as far as their efficiency being that high. But if you look at the overall amount of production that Texas caused this year via the deep dig scoring system, and I could probably go into more detail about it maybe tomorrow because we might not have time, but it's just like let's just go over it. It'll be real quick. Let me just pull up my notes and I'll tell you guys exactly what it is. So basically, what it is the deep dig. You get points for various acts on a football field, right? What they are is you get solo tackles 1 point, assisted tackles 0.5 points, sacks 2 points, quarterback hits 1 point, pressures 1 point, TFLs 2 points, batted passes 1 point, caused fumbles 3 points, recovered fumbles 1.5 points, run stuffs 1 point on top of tackle if applicable, PBUs are 1 point, interceptions are 3 points, blowups are 2 points, defensive touchdowns are 6 points, safeties are 5 points. You get a DB lockdown bonus of 3 points that's prorated based on the percentage of snaps that you play at corner. You get 3 at outside corner, 2 at nickel corner and or safety. You get minus 0.5 points for completions allowed, minus 1 point for missed tackles, minus 2 points for coverage burns, minus 1 point for penalties, and minus 1 point for blown contains. Okay, so that's how you get the total number of production on the defense, right? So you see Anthony Hill on the season, he's produced 107 points on 563 snaps, which is 10.71% of the team's market share. And he's done it, and he's gotten 1 point once every 5.26 snaps. Okay. So when you see that number, that 5.26, that 4.4, whatever for Colin Simmons, that stuff on the side that's color coded, those are efficiency numbers. Whereas the number here in the production is just total production numbers, right? If you just look at this defense as far as its total production on the season, it has generated in total 998.88 points. Okay, so in 2023, they scored since I added the DB lockdown bonuses, which sort of changed up the scoring and brought DBs a little bit closer with the rest of them. But I also had to add the minus 0.5 for completions allowed. That was in 2017. Since 2017, 998.88 this year, right? 890.12, 22, 950, 2021, 834, 2020, 692, 2019, 823, 2018, 831, 2017, 930. So that's an average per year of basically 850 points of production per year in the deep dig. So they had 2 extra games of production on average, more than 2 extra games over the same number of games this season. It was like they had 2 extra games, Cody. And the way that they did it, the way they generated all that extra production, is because how historically efficient they were. Out of 183 guys who played at least 200 snaps, Texas had 9. 9 of their 11 starters were in the top 35. These dudes are kings, man. And Colin Simmons is the efficiency king. Anthony Hill is the production king. And the rest of them are awesome. It's just like, it's incredible. You look at the young LaFau, you'd be like, he was that efficient? He's like, yeah.
How is he still there? That's the thing. How is LaFau like? I think
he had an awesome game this last game. He had a caused fumble. Like he was, I guarantee you, if you look at your Cockamamie PFF, he has to have an awesome grade. He had a ton of tackles. He had a ton of run stuffs. He caused a fumble. He always had his run fits right. He was a.
I know. He had a good
have him ranked. They probably have him ranked dead last. But
conceptualizing that he's still up there and like he didn't start the season and all this stuff, and I'm just like, it's wild when you look at the all-time list and it's like LaFau. Yeah, he's no longer like way short of snaps. He's side by side Colin Simmons in snaps. He's got 100 more snaps than that DeMarvion Overshone. He's almost got as many snaps as Byron Murphy had last year.
I'm telling you.
Like, he played a full season, and he's all-time.
The Samoan shotgun. That's an all-time nickname.
That's a
Whenever
great.
I heard that they called him that, he jumped up like an extra 20 points a game in the old deep dig. Hey, dude. So and the other we have to get this. We can talk about Micah Hudson tomorrow, right? Let,
Sure.
let's save that for tomorrow in case anything pops with that. And then people are trying to ask us to talk about the decommit tonight. I'll just say about the decommit tonight, man. Just don't. I wouldn't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
We're Texas is not weird. I'm not anything, but Texas is plenty good at progressing prospects through
Yeah,
the years.
yeah.
That there's no worry if a kid
Don't
decommits.
trust. Just don't worry about this one. Do you have any prize picks that you love tonight, Cody? From who do you think wins? Do you think that, or how do you think the game start's going to go? So it's Cleveland at Denver. No snow globe for this one.
1916 Broncos. I got Dustin Hopkins higher than 6 kicking points. I got Elijah Moore, 4.5 receptions.
What is because Tillman's out?
Judy, I mean, Judy's got his redemption game, but it's going to be against Pat Surtain, so good luck. So I got Elijah Moore, 4.5 receptions, Cortland Sutton, 9 targets, and Dustin Hopkins, 6 kicking points.
What is Will Lutz? I mean, Will Lutz is going to have eight kicking points. Oh,
his number is 8.
It's sitting at 8.
It's too high.
It's too high. Okay, let's see here. So with Surtain, you're worried about, or with Judy, you're worried about Surtain.
Yeah, I mean Judy. I mean, I like Judy, but he's just. I think he's going to get a lot of Surtain. He's in his get back spot here,
dude. I mean, so if don't tell me, do they still have Sutton's reception sitting at like a 4.5 or something?
No,
5.5.
There you go.
But he's been smashing that, Cody.
Yeah.
I mean, is Cleveland's not even that good on the matchup tool, are they?
Well, no, I mean they're on name base there with Delpit and Ward and Newsom and stuff, but they've been getting whipped.
Dude, it's like the number. No, okay, I'm smashing Sutton here for over 5.5 catches. I love this. Is there a longest reception? Gosh, it might be the Devon Vele 16.5 longest reception. That seems aggressive, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to ever bet on Devon Vele.
Little Jordan Humphrey might not even catch a ball. 11.5 longest reception. Let's see, receiving yards combo. Bailey
Nick Chubb had an interesting dichotomy. What was it? 54 rushing yards or 59 rush plus receiving. I feel like he's always one that could potentially catch a screen pass.
I don't want to run anybody into the teeth of that defense, though. Do you?
No, but that's what I'm saying. He could always. It just feels like a guy like Chubb, a guy like Derrick Henry, always just could catch one screen pass. I'm not going to touch it, but I just think it's interesting.
So you like Elijah Moore? What did you say?
4.5.
4.5 receptions, huh? Gosh, it seems a little high. What about Jameis pass attempts?
Joku's 5.
37 pass attempts. He's going to throw more than that, isn't he?
I mean, it depends how you think the game goes.
He's going to throw more than that.
It's a lot of pass.
And if he throws more than that, then of course, I'm not going to be able to get this lineup in time for the show to be over. I'm going to need to take some time after the show I need to go look at his numbers, and we're not going to have time. Thanks to, but get in that Cortland Sutton 4.5. That's the one I like, and get it in with Cody's 5.5, and get it in with Cody's 4.5 for Elijah Moore. That'll be our picks. I just want to look into Jameis before 37. That feels high.
Feels
aggressive. Look. Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. Please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel. Basically, a record number of people watching tonight. So thanks to everybody for being here. We love seeing the show grow. And if you can like the show, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, leave a comment. That would help us out a whole lot. But most importantly, thanks for continuing to come back and watch, because that's what we're trying to build a good show here, man. We like to come in, talk football, no filler, no fluff, just get in, get out. We have the Outsiders coming up a little bit later, so make sure and stick around for them here on the channel. And we're back all week, man, previewing SEC championship, talking recruiting, National Signing Day tomorrow, the CFP rankings show live here on Orange Bloods Live. So thank you guys for being here. God bless you. Thank you. For Cody, I'm Alex. We are done.